Thank you, Ram Madhavji, and namaskar and good afternoon to everyone. Good morning, rather. Uh, with the initial introduction of Ram Madhavji, let me throw light on the shared cultural values of East Asian countries. Ram Madhavji has rightly pointed out that there are many countries that have supported the re-establishment of Nalanda. But I will come to Nalanda a little later on, since we have collectively between India and ASEAN countries about over 700 youth as human capital for the growth of the world in future. So for me, it's a human resource, human capital that needs to take the right pathways. I think these past 2-3 days that you've been having extensive discussions have been in different directions of how to grow, how to formulate a new roadmap for the emerging world challenges. Now, that being said, let me look at the shared values, and I think the historical framework is point number one that we need to look at when we look at our shared ethos. People to people connect, and I thought the best example was just before this session what Ram Madhavji did with all of you. I think that's also a brilliant example of how do we connect with each other, how do we learn about each other, in the present context, given the past, and then I would like to look at the cultural values that have molded, shaped our psyche over 2 millennia. Over 2,000 years, we've had the continuous history of relationship with ASEAN. And I think that has been very important example for the plurality of the world. The connection between ASEAN and India. I think we are a bedrock of plurality and how to build a new world on the basis of shared values. I think we are a prime example there. The third, I thought we need to look at the neotric ways of how do we build our future with the youth around. So I think it's very important to look at various examples. If we look at history, we have over 2,000 years of history where through trade and culture and education route, spirituality had grown. We were known as knowledge-based traditions. Spirituality that brought peace and harmony has been again a bedrock. And it's firmly believed, and I say this generally, that wherever Buddha traversed, seeds of knowledge sprouted. And this is across the ASEAN. And the Southeast Asian countries. Today, Nalanda has students from over 30 countries, mostly from ASEAN belt, and 80% of students. It's a huge chunk, where we have about 20% Indian students, but we have a lot of foreign students doing Buddhism or doing sustainable management or ecology and environment, looking at the climate challenges. Now, all this, we also look at the history of how we have dealt with life at that point of time. The third point that I wanted to highlight is how will we move forward with the new age technologies. I think the recent event in Bogor, October 22, where the startups between ASEAN and India festival was held in Indonesia, I think that tells us a lot of how we can carve a niche for ourselves while connecting history, culture, shared ethos, and yet move forward for the postmodern world, postmodern world. I think we are looking at a new world that would be emerging with the leadership of the youth. Over 65% of youngsters in India alone. ASEAN, if you look at, you have the youth are over 45% of its population. I think this is a very significant move forward for the youth, how to frame oneself. for the future roadmap, and how do we look at spirituality in today's terms? Nalanda stands for peace and harmony, the spiritual growth, how it was a knowledge tradition that brought monks from across the world, how the trade route was essential to develop education, develop spirituality, develop languages. Sanskrit and Pali played a very important role. And Sanskrit was the medium of instruction at Nalanda all those years back. And I'm talking about nearly 1600 years back, because 800 years of Nalanda's history of interdisciplinary education in spirituality. Then 800 years of gap when it was government and the East Asian countries took a collective decision to rebuild Nalanda. Today we are there. You should check us out on the website. There are some very innovative courses that are being taught. And we stand for peace, we stand for harmony. And how to build peace and harmony while we are technologically moving forward. How do we build sustainable management in every field and not just in technology? I think with these few initial comments, I think I will move forward. Thank you.